make decisions to glow. Ridiculous flow, potential to glow. You know, I just do that. Consolidate my regions, line it up, put them together. Anyone that ever let me down, forget them forever.
Before You Speak Coffee is the fastest growing instant coffee business in all of Australia, having shipped well over 2 million units to 43 countries worldwide and counting. For this episode, we sit down with co-founders Jaryd Terkelsen and Ash Bisset to discuss mindset, personal growth, and what it takes to successfully build and scale a startup. If you prefer to listen instead of watch, head over to any of the podcast platforms listed on screen or check out the description. Good. Jaryd, Ash, welcome to Brisbane Base.
Thanks, mate.
Okay,
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Now, very, very recently, there's been a few birthdays in the Before You Speak family. So I think, Jaryd, you turned 31 just a couple of days back.
Last weekend, yeah.
Yep. And then old Millie, who's just upstairs, she just ticked over
we've got the same birthday.
Yeah. Do you really?
Yeah. What's the chances, eh?
What are the chances?
Meant to be.
Match made in heaven.
It's in Brassy, graphic designer. His birthday tomorrow. So,
oh, right. Didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Ash was last month. So it's all.
So both 31 now?
I'm 32.
Yeah, so you're old.
Old and grey, man.
Old and grey. But probably a little more importantly, Before You Speak as a business just hit 2 years on the market as of July. And what really impressed me about that is how much you guys have been able to grow in such a short period of time. I mean, if we just look at the numbers, I think it's something like 600 stockers, you're selling millions of units, you're making millions of dollars. And as much as you have ambition to do a lot more, which we'll get into, I think you guys would even have to admit it's not been a bad start.
Yeah, for sure. Like we're happy with our progress so far. We are very ambitious. I guess we'd still like to be a lot further ahead than where we actually are.
Even just for 2 years?
Yeah, 100%. So, but I guess our original forecasts and goals were way ahead of where we are now. But I guess we got a bit of a reality check. Like nothing goes as fast as you want it to in the beginning, but we're certainly getting that traction now.
Absolutely. And definitely not here by chance though. You're both extremely hardworking and you have so much discipline. Like you're the type of guys to spend 8 hours on Christmas Day literally researching personal development content, whiteboarding, strategizing, and then you're in here in the warehouse the very next day executing and getting after it. And I think that level of passion, obsession, commitment, it's so rare to find, but it definitely wasn't always like that for you boys. I mean, there was a time not all that long ago where you're doing things that you maybe weren't so passionate about. I mean, take us back to those times, Jaryd, when you were a chippy and maybe for yourself, Ash, when in the early ASN days.
Yeah, well, I guess everyone's got their journey, and I think I wouldn't go back and change it for anything because I guess it's led us to where we are now, like it led our paths to cross, the whole ASN thing with me in particular and Jaryd. Obviously, we actually met being security guards in the clubs and stuff like that.
And that was in Toowoomba, right?
No, up in Townsville.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, Townsville. So, but yeah, man, I guess we've both sort of, we've spoken about it. We've always thought, geez, there's got to be more to life, or there just has to be more than just working, turning up 9 to 5, clocking in, clocking out. So I guess because we both share that sort of same value or drive, it's led us to be able to work well together and then create what we're creating now.
Absolutely. And Jaryd, I think you owned your own construction company at one point in time, and it just was at the point in your life where you didn't like getting out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, mate. Like I guess I came out of school and it was either I didn't want to go to uni, so it was kind of pushed in the direction, get a trade. That's just what you did. I started, like my dad's got a landscaping business. I did a bit of that, hated it. It's manual labour out in the sun. Like there's nothing fun about it.
Especially in North Queensland too.
It's
that's
hot.
Not fun.
Just at the coalface.
Yeah. So I did that. I actually started a diesel fitting apprenticeship, did that for 3 months, hated it, quit. And then I jumped into carpentry, and not that I overly enjoyed it, but it was better than the other things that I'd been doing. So it was kind of like knuckle down, just get a trade. At least I've got the piece of paper behind me then, so something to fall back on. But yeah, there was no passion there. Like I was waking up every morning, it's like drag yourself to it. And I guess my getaway out of that was just like health and fitness. I was into training and stuff afterwards, and on weekends, like being an apprentice chippy, I was making $7 something an hour when I first kicked off. And then that's how Ash and I met.
Yeah, I think Ash dragged you into the business, gave you the leg up into ASN initially, I think.
Yeah, that was after, I guess, the security days.
Yeah, you guys had already struck up a friendship at that point.
So he did like the tradie thing, I did the uni thing straight out of school, like that was my, let's go get a degree, go get a job after that. And I guess while I was at uni, I did the security thing, and that's when we met. But then after uni, you finish with the pieces of paper and, what experience have you got? And you're out there and it's not as easy to get a job as what everyone makes out that it's going to be. I was lucky enough that a friend of ours worked at ASN and there was a position available, and that's when I got into that. And then,
for me, it was just a step in the right direction. So I had my own construction company, like you said.
Yep.
I'd do subcontracting pretty much Monday through to Friday. Saturday to Sunday, I'd go and work in the store at ASN just because I was like, I need to get away from what I'm doing. I need to sort of just explore different options of things that I'm passionate about. Yeah. So I did that for maybe a couple of months, and then, I guess the opportunity came up, and Ash actually was doing national operations, said, do you want to jump in and manage the store? And for me, it was a huge reduction in what I was making in terms of pay.
But significantly better than today.
It was about happiness. At the end of the day, that's what matters. Yeah.
And is that where you guys sort of learn your work ethic from, maybe in those early days, doing actual hard labour, for example?
Yeah, for me, 100%. My dad's the hardest worker I know. He still busts his ass out in the sun every day. So that was kind of drilled into me. I'd see that every day. But then being able to actually find something that I'm passionate about and actually give more of your energy to that. Like labour, like that, it's physically taxing. You're fucked at the end of the day. Yeah. So being able to sort of find something that you love and then put it all into that, it makes a difference for us.
And a lot of people talk about success being the combination of when preparation meets opportunity, but I guess it always helps when you do get a little bit of lucky. And I guess one of those really serendipitous moments in the journey for both of you is when, I think, Jaryd, you were working in ASN at the time, and this bloke called Paul walks in, and you were sort of gravitated towards him, and you could kind of ascertain he's the type of guy you wanted to get more time around. And tell me the story. I love this story. What happened?
You've done your research, mate.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Yeah, so I guess when I was working up in ASN in Townsville, it was one of those things. He came into the store and I served him, and I kind of could tell straight away. I was just getting into personal development then, and I had a good conversation. I probably chatted to him for about half an hour over the counter, and I was like, this guy's switched on. I'd love to get more time around this type of guy. So I said to Paul, as I served him, I was like, mate, I'd love to get more time around you. When can we catch up? Yeah. He's like, well, you've got my details in the system now, so just give me a buzz and we'll line up a time. And it took me 8 or 9 months to actually get that meeting with him.
I remember getting phone calls because I knew Jaryd was like, obviously you want to surround yourself with people doing what you want to do and stuff. And he'd ring me. He's like, man, Paul's just not replying. Because I knew Paul as well. I had dealt with him from an ASN point of view. Paul used to be involved in some health clubs and stuff back in the day. So I knew who he was as well, and knew obviously what he was all about, especially business-wise and stuff. He was on a level that we really aspired to get to. So
yeah, it was literally, I think, my last text to him after those 9 months.
He was going to give up.
I was like, mate, either catch up with me or tell me to fuck off, because I'm just going to keep going. It was like, okay, let's grab lunch. And
all right, you cracked me. Yeah. And that sort of meeting, like you said, you were already just getting into the sort of self-development, personal help sort of space, but that sort of skyrocketed that, if you will, because that
absolutely
sort of led you to discovering the psychology behind success, and then looking into it a little bit more, you're stumbling across people like Jay Abraham, for example.
Yeah.
And I know you had a little bit of time to sit down with Jay a couple of years back. What did you guys take away from that meeting with him?
I spent probably a fair bit of time doing, getting mentorship by Jay. That was, back at the start, Paul's if you're interested in personal development, look at Tony Robbins stuff. If you're interested in business development, marketing, strategy, check out Jay Abraham. So I probably spent an 18-month period where just every single day it was just studying these guys and their content and going to their courses. I probably spent close to 44 grand in about 18 months doing courses and personal. You don't have to spend that kind of money to get that level of education, but it certainly helped. Everything I was making in personal training at the time, once I'd moved out of ASN, was going straight into my own development. So sitting down with those kind of guys, they just open up your mind to what's actually possible.
And I think that's a really important point, because a lot of people, this is one of the things we were just talking about Grant Cardone before, but something he does talk about is, before you invest in business, before you invest in maybe cash flow producing assets like real estate or stocks, you've got to invest in yourself first.
100%.
Because if you're not establishing that right foundation, you're building a house on shaky land.
Absolutely.
It's just not going to end well.
And when the pressure gets turned on in a business setting, or even in life, not everything goes to plan all the time. If you don't spend the time to really, I guess, understand your values and all that sort of stuff that you learn through those personal development sort of courses and whatnot, like things can go south really quickly. So I think that's, people commented a little bit, but like obviously with Before You Speak, like there's been a lot of ups and downs. It's the startup sort of journey and everyone's sort of like, oh, you boys just don't get too stressed out or whatever. I guess, the personal development stuff can
it's like
play with that.
Shit goes wrong, but you react off principles, not emotion.
Yeah. And so if someone's watching right now, they have $5,000, I guess a key piece of advice for you would be, look, you have $5,000, put a whole lot of it into investing into yourself. If the eventual goal is to get into business and get better, that's a good place to make an investment. Don't put it in the stock market or whatever, put it in yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you can get returns in the thousands of percent if you're investing into yourself. I guess investing into shares, whatever it may be, like you're not controlling that. Like that could still go south. You could lose that money. If you're investing into your own knowledge and personal development, like that's staying with you.
That's it for life. And one thing you guys talk about is the compound effect of learning, which I really love because people understand intellectually the concept of compound interest and earning interest on their money, and then that works on that exponential growth curve. But you can sort of apply that same principle for your mindset, because if you learn a certain principle, it allows you to go to the next step and then the next step. And so it's important to invest in yourself for that reason and get that benefit also. Now, a close cousin of self-improvement is mentorship, which we've already sort of touched on. We've already sort of mentioned Jay Abraham, but who's some other sort of people that you've lent on in your journey to really get those guiding principles to help you guys out?
I guess for me, like my first mentor was Paul, who's now a business partner in Before You Speak. So I've worked with Paul for maybe 5 or 6 years now in total. I did work fairly closely with Jay Abraham for maybe 12 to 18 months. As I look at mentors, like you don't have to physically have these guys in front of you be dealing with it. You can get mentorship just through guys that you're reading books from and learning from. So all that counts as well.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a misconception around that whole mentorship thing. It's like, oh, I've got to go and spend time with one person, catch up every week. I mean, I was lucky myself, like I guess within my professional journey, even like someone like Simon Rees, who is the founder of ASN, like he's done an amazing job with what he's done. But it is that whole surrounding yourself or putting yourself in environments where you're forced to learn or you're forced to level up. And that's what we seek that now. We're talking about our trip that we just did to Sydney. Catching up with guys that are just on completely different levels to where we are now, and it's just like so inspiring. Or it really makes us go, yeah, that's where we need to go.
100%. I think I've been fairly lucky. Probably the past 18 months since I moved down here, Glenn Richards has given us a lot of time as well.
Oh yeah, from Shark Tank.
So he's I got an introduction to him through to, it was a funny story actually. I was back when I invested.
That would have been the first sample, hey?
Yeah, literally. He was probably one of the first guys that tried Before You Speak, him and Steve Baxter.
No kidding.
So I'm invested into another, I guess, journey management system. So with that, the founder of it opened up Innovation North Queensland, and as a part of that, he flew the guys from Shark Tank up, and he was like, mate, do you want to go out fishing with the boys?
Yeah, I saw that photo on Instagram.
Yeah, he's like, do you want to go out fishing with the boys from Shark Tank? I was like, yeah, fucking no. Like, how good is this? What an opportunity. And I was expecting we'd be on this massive boat, like a bunch of us might get a bit of time to chat with them. I ended up on a tinny that's probably a bit bigger than this couch. And I had the guy that was like the tour guide driving, and then I was kind of Glenn, then me, then Steve, and I spent 6 hours up the river. So you talk about luck, like that was a fairly lucky thing for me. And we, like Ash said, that was one of the first samples of Before You Speak. I wasn't pitching it to them, but I had it on me because I was like, what an opportunity. I was still doing personal training at the time. I was a love for these guys just to try it. And they're like, oh, they're like interesting, like cool to see. Good concept. That was the end of it. And then I guess 12 months later, I moved down to Brisbane and kind of reached back out to Glenn. He's been great for me and Ash, and kind of welcome to like meet up and give us some mentorship and direction, and I guess
it's just that constructive feedback.
Absolutely.
And back on the Before You Speak journey, sorry, I'm really interested to know, how was this idea born? Because I think at the time, it was about mid 2016. I think you were still doing Bodies by Rachel at the time, Jaryd, and you were still at ASN Ash. Paint me the picture. What happened?
Well, at that time, I mean, Jaryd's very like vision entrepreneurial, like coming up with a million different business ideas all the time. He'd ring me like, I think you were sort of looking for what was sort of next from BBR2 a little bit.
Yeah, I always wanted to get into a product-based business because it's more scalable.
And then, we were on the phone, Jaryd being a PT, obviously just drinking a lot of caffeine, and we were always, I guess, in that whole personal development, it's like, okay, well, how can I get more out of my day? So with our daily coffee, it's the habits and all that sort of stuff, we were already mixing things in, like MCTs or coconut oil, just for like improved brain function and things like that. And then, it's sort of, I think, we were like, hang on, is anyone doing that? There was like the bulletproof coffee had just sort of been kicking off. Which is obviously more of a method of having your coffee, but there wasn't anyone doing too much else with it, and that's where it all really started to come from.
The penny dropped, and you're like, shit. There's something here.
Yeah, like coffee's like everybody drinks it, and it's such a good vehicle to, I guess, address different aspects of health, well-being, performance. Like nobody was really doing what we wanted to do or what we'd thought of in the functional space. So like, why not? So
it's like, coming up with ideas for new businesses and stuff doesn't have to always be like, something that no one's ever created or thought of before. It's, like making a tweak to something and improving it, whether that's a technology thing or, like what we've done, coffee being the second most consumed beverage in the world. Well, we're just putting our own little tweak
Twist
to
on
it.
it.
Twist to it.
Don't need to reinvent the wheel.
For sure. I
Just make
think
the wheel
my
better.
original thought was, I wonder what's going to replace coffee. And then I was like, well, why do we need to replace it? Why can't we just improve that experience?
Beautiful.
Ran with it.
And so it's on.
Yeah.
And then I think shortly after that, I think you sold out of BBR, and then you were up to the sunny coast to hang out with Ash and really start working on it. And then shortly after that, you guys were Brisbane based.
Yes.
And then it all started kicking off. And building a business is extremely hard. Like, you guys know that better than most. And you're inevitably going to face a lot of roadblocks and hurdles. But you guys talk about how that first 18 months was some really hard shit to deal with. Talk us through it. What was that experience like? For the people who don't know what it's like to truly be an entrepreneur, they see the Instagram flashy, but they don't know how it really is day to day.
Man, like it's a grind, especially if you don't have any sort of financial backing. Like I'd sold out of BBR, like you said, moved in with Ash, and I probably didn't go the smartest way about it, but I didn't get a job when I moved down. I was like, I'm just all in on this. Like I'm one of those people where when I'm focused on something, that's all I want to do. Like I don't want to fuck around and do these things on the side and make a little bit of cash. So it was kind of all in, and in the process of doing that, I was like, I didn't have an income for 12 months. So I ended up in about 50 grand worth of bad personal debt, credit cards, whatnot. Had to sell my house to get out of that, lost 100 grand on the house to, I guess, make that move, but it allowed me to clear my debts and kind of lift that weight, and then us just to keep going all in on what we're doing, what we knew. Like we were always very confident in what was going to come of this coffee, of the brand, what our vision was. So yeah, and I guess it was a slow grind getting it up and running.
Especially just the two of us as well, like at the start, I guess from a product standpoint, like we're an instant coffee. So it was even something for us to get our head around, is like we didn't want to call ourselves like an instant coffee because it was like a bad, stigma around that or whatever. And so like it's all those learning things. It's learning to deal with like a taste-based product that people don't like it. You know what I mean? Dealing with that sort of rejection. Oh, we're a premium product. Oh, no one's going to ever spend that money on an instant coffee. And, like just dealing with it's not rejection, but like those hurdles and those, I guess somewhat negativity towards it. You just laser focused on, no, we believe in what we're doing. Yeah. But in saying that, look, I mean, that's a small percentage. There was way more positivity around what we were doing.
People getting behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it overshadows all of that.
It just comes down to, I guess, with a new concept, it comes down to educating the market.
Absolutely. And just backtracking a little bit, so back to the time you guys aren't earning any money. I mean, you guys are eating eggs and rice, protein powder and
literally
oats.
Eggs and rice in the microwave was the deal.
Like, did you ever have a thought?
That was like most of the meals.
Yeah, and that was just days and weeks straight, right?
Yeah, we couldn't afford to go buy fucking eat out or buy nice food.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment where you were like, why am I doing this?
I don't think so.
I don't think we question why. There was definitely a lot of times where it was like, fuck, this would be nice if it'd be easier if we could catch a break.
And I think that's the problem too in today's day and age, right? Like everyone sees the stories of, especially the tech stuff, you know, like the Facebooks, the Snapchats, all these sorts of things that are 0 to 100 overnight. So you go into it going, well, that's going to be us, and it's not.
Yeah.
So it's it's just, you know, you got to persevere, and that's, I think, why, you know, people end up succeeding. It's just the people who can persevere the most.
And it's that, I think it's those concepts of sacrifice and delayed gratification.
100%.
I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. There's only so many hours in the day.
Exactly
so
right.
It just means you can't watch sports with your boys on the weekend.
No.
You've got work to do.
That's it. You can't have a great social life, have the best body you've ever had, whilst simultaneously like building a business at the pace that you want to do it too. Like, it all does come down to sacrifice.
Yeah, and we're at a stage in our lives where, you know, we made that choice that we thought we're onto a good thing. So those other things, you know, can take a backward step. You know, like our relationship, everyone around us, you know, like I'm 32, 31, everyone's having babies, getting married, we're just working.
We've been single for a long time because we're
that's a big
we're
deal.
just deep in the hustle.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. You've given up a lot. I mean, time, relationships, money, weekends, leisure.
You gotta.
It's worth it.
Startup life.
That's it. Like, end goal, like we know even maybe it might take us another 5 years that we still got to keep sacrificing. I'm sure we're going to be in a much better position, but if we do that sacrifice now, we're going to be in a position that a lot of people may not ever reach because we're willing to put in the work now and give up everything else.
So few people are prepared to do that.
Yeah.
So few.
Exactly right.
Because it's not a normal society thing to do, you know, everyone... Yeah.
You've got to. I've been thinking about it, and I was like, do you have to have maybe the right screw a little bit loose, but just in the right place? And I think the answer is yes.
100%. It's a mindset. It is. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And in addition to dealing with all those sacrifices, sometimes you have to deal, like you were talking about before, Ash, with other people's negative opinions, but maybe just not on your product. Maybe they're saying, your dad's tapping you on the shoulder and saying, Ash, you haven't made $1 in 12 months. What are you doing with your life? Did you have to encounter much of that? Not from family per se, but really deep sort of...
I've always been I've had a very supportive family in that aspect. They believe in me and what I'm doing. Like, my family my parents are always like, as long as you're happy, that's all that matters. Like, they're the least judgmental people like that I know. So I guess that's been great for me in the position that we've kind of gone through. But in terms of, I guess, outside influence of people, like, you're going to get that shit all the time. Yeah. I really don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about who I am as a person or what we're doing. So...
you only get to that position because of, again, going back to what we talked about, the personal development, working out who you are, what you stand for, you know, what your core values are. Because if you don't know that, then, you know, a little bit of negativity or whatever will just throw you off course. But yeah, I'm the same. I mean, my parents just always back me. They're like, no, like, we back you. You know what you're doing.
That's awesome.
Go for it. Good thing is they love the coffee too, so that's always helpful.
Don't go out of business, boys. I need the coffee.
Yeah, I mean, like, fear of criticism holds so many people back.
Absolutely. I think fear of failure and fear of other people's opinions are the two biggest things.
100%. And that's why you've got to, like Ash said, like, understand your core values and know what you're working towards.
And understand that, and then understand the actual journey as well. So I think you posted it on your Instagram, Jaryd, but it was like, okay, so if you made your journey in business a timeline, in the beginning, people are going to doubt and mock you, or who's before you speak. That's a cute little coffee idea. And then maybe you start getting some wins and they're like, oh, that's just a bit of luck. And then you start winning a little bit more and they want to align themselves with you. Maybe, hey, Jaryd, can I do a podcast? And then you're winning even more. And they're saying, people who used to go to school with you would be like, I know Jaryd and Ash. I went to school with them.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you understand that, it's maybe easier to deal with it in the moment because you know it's just temporary.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like, it's again, comes back down to sacrifice. Like, I've sacrificed, I guess, a lot of friendships and relationships, not because we don't want to be friends with those people, just because we probably haven't given them the time because we're focused on what we're doing.
I think the best analogy that I've ever seen that draws so many parallels to business is this Chinese bamboo parable, which I didn't know is the longest Instagram post of all time.
I gave him heaps of shit about that.
It's a fucking beauty.
It's true, though.
I love it.
Good, yeah.
100%.
So for anyone who
It's such
doesn't
a good
know,
metaphor.
what is this Chinese bamboo parable in a
I guess,
nutshell?
like, Chinese bamboo takes about 5 years to see any growth. Like, you won't even see it break the soil. So unless you're continually like watering, looking after the soil, I guess in the environment that you're creating in, it's just that resilience, like knowing what you're going to, well, actually, after this, I'll go on to something else we were talking about the other day, but after about 5 years, it shoots up to what, like 30 or 90 feet within a week or something.
Yeah,
Yes,
real quick.
about
So
a couple
you
weeks.
see absolutely, I guess, no progress, and then it just goes straight up.
Boom.
So, and that's something we were talking about the other day. There was, there's a guy, I forget where he's from, but he was searching for these lost treasures.
Yeah.
And it was literally, this guy was searching for it for, I think it was just under 40 years.
It was 30-something years.
30-something years. And he was like convinced, like imagine showing up every fucking day and not finding a single thing for even 35 years. He ended up finding it.
And it was like this just epic artwork.
Yeah, he ended up getting like
treasures and
investors believing in him and backing him, which allowed him to go and do it. But
stuff. So the feeling that he would have had after that long to finally
most people give up after a couple of fucking weeks.
Yeah.
Imagine going for 30 or 35 years without seeing anything
That's
and then still pushing through. Yeah. I mean, like that shit drives me. I love that. It's resilience.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a cool
Because
story.
it's so easy to quit, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so easy to quit.
It's much easier to quit than keep
Yeah.
going. Back on the Before You Speak journey, so in your first 12 months, you guys grew really quick. Sorry, backtrack a little bit. Idea to launching, that was only 12 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's fast for a product-based business.
And to be honest, we probably would have been quicker, but our packaging's made in China, and dealing with Chinese New Year and learning that straight off the bat, where they just don't work for a month.
Yeah.
We didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we had those sorts of hurdles as well. But yeah, I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, we got it together pretty quickly. But again, that goes back to, I guess, part of that luck thing that you mentioned. It's our background of where we came from in that sports nutrition industry was able to really help us piece the puzzle together relatively quickly to make that process happen, yeah.
I want to get into the nitty-gritty of that 12 months of sort of planning before you did launch. So, for example, even really basic shit like the name, how did that idea come up?
Man, that was, we get asked this a lot. It was just one of the first names that came to mind, to be honest. And it's because we don't like talking to people before we've had coffee.
Just straight up.
We tried to think of others, but that just stuck.
Yeah.
We'd always just come back to it,
Yeah.
you know.
I think it's different too. Like, it's quirky, I think. Like, there's a lot we can do around it with marketing.
Marketing-wise, yeah.
But yeah, it grabs people's attention. And that was important.
Yeah, it's funny now, like obviously with our shirts, when we go traveling, especially overseas, the amount of people that stop us in the airport or, what do your shirts mean? Because we obviously wear the same thing a lot of the time. Yeah. So it's a good conversation starter.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just like, I want to know more. It's intriguing.
It's interesting, yeah.
And then things like the logo, what I really love about this is you were just like Fiverr.com, sort it out. Is that still the logo today?
Yeah. It was the first one we saw. $30, $35. The first person, so for people who don't know Fiverr, you put up a sort of a concept and people sort of throw in their bid or their work and you choose. It was literally the first one that came through.
Yeah.
And we were both like, done.
Yeah.
I don't even think we looked at another one.
And I guess the lesson in that is that you guys have had a lot of previous business experience, and probably the wrong thing to do early is go too high cost too soon. I mean, if you're spending 20 grand on a website and you haven't made a sale yet, it's probably should back things up a little bit first.
Oh, for sure.
And just trust that instinct, you know, like stop overthinking things. That, you know, things don't have to be perfect. What's that whole saying? You know, if your first product doesn't embarrass you, you waited too long to release it, you know? So, you know, we look back now and we've only been in through 2 years and we're going through a rebrand at the moment and we look back to what we started with and we cringe like, ugh, what were we doing?
We've probably actually changed our packaging between our box or our sachets about 6 or 7 times.
Just little
They've only been
things,
like minor things, but...
This one we're doing it's going to be completely different.
Awesome, looking forward to it. And on the actual product itself, manufacturing, coming up with the powder or whatnot, you guys sort of had all those relationships already from your time in the sports nutrition industry. what are the importance of relationships in business? Obviously, I think everyone knows the adage, network is your net worth, but
100%.
what does that really mean on a practical level?
Oh, like it's the top of the list for me in business. It's relationships are everything. Like we were at the start, like a prime example, you know, like we were very over ambitious with how much we were going to sell when we first started. So, you know, like you've got payment terms and things like that. So, you know, if you don't have good relationships, you can really come unstuck pretty quickly when it comes to those sorts of things.
For sure. I think there's probably a lot of opportunity that people have in front of them as well that they don't even realise. Like, again, coming back to mentors, Jay Abraham that I worked with, he's got a book called, I think it's Your Secret Wealth or My Secret Wealth, one of those two. And it was like, look within your network of who's doing what in terms of might be products, manufacturing, distribution, marketing. Like all you need to do a lot of the time is just connect the dots.
Yeah.
Like there's so much opportunity sitting in front of you. Like who can you leverage to create something?
Yeah.
And that goes through to even stuff we do now, like the whole power of collaboration. You know what I mean? Like people, especially I don't know whether it's an Australian thing or whatever, it's always like me versus the rest, real secretive. I don't want anyone else to sort of be a part of it or whatever.
Yeah, it's like if you help someone else, they're going to take away from your own success, which
Scarcity
is fucking
mindset.
stupid. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's not abundance. Whereas the US, it's completely different. Like we've been there a couple of times, like twice this year, and you talk to guys over there like, who can I introduce you to? What do you need? Like straight on, I just want to help you. So
it's totally different there, isn't it?
It's such a collaborative environment.
Yeah.
It's like that, you know, we're talking before, you know, it's like that Gary Vee thing, you know, I want to build the biggest building, but not by tearing everyone else's building down, you know what I mean? Like, just build the biggest building.
And I guess a close cousin of relationships and networking is spending time with like-minded people. I mean, everyone knows the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Are you guys really conscious of trying to connect with other way players and things like that?
100%. And I guess that's probably something, going back to our core values, and that it's probably something that dropped off for the first 12 months of building the business that we're then very conscious of, like we need to get around people that are operating at higher levels. So probably don't go to as much business networking events as we used to, but we certainly, within, I guess, our brand and what we do, we try to align with top performers anyway.
Yeah.
So having that opportunity to connect with people that are just playing at the top of their level, it's certainly something we're conscious of and we make an effort to do.
And the beauty of that, it's sort of naturally integrated into your business. So you're connecting, but you're also doing business
100%.
at the same time. Now, on a really practical level, things like accounting, finance, legal, they're not topics often talked about, but they're extremely fucking important.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any really good practical advice around that sort of stuff for people just starting out?
If it's not you, get someone in your business that can manage it.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I see a spreadsheet and I go to sleep. I fucking hate that stuff.
He literally does.
Not your
Or
jam.
he's like, Jaryd, are you paying attention?
You need to get to a stage like where you understand the fundamentals of it, but even if you're not an expert in it, like for us, that's Paul, our other business partner. Like everything's on a spreadsheet, everything's down to percentages. You need that person, especially if you plan on scaling big and fast. Like once you do start doing serious numbers, you need to be across it.
Yeah, you need to know where your money is, so.
And things like insurances, like did you worry about all that sort of stuff very early, or is it better to sort of wait until you get a bit of traction to then spend the dough on that sort of thing?
No, we took care of all that stuff straight off the bat.
Well, I guess especially with dealing with something people consume.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's a bit of risk there. All right, and how much did you guys invest, and what was the total startup cost for you guys to get this thing going?
I guess that was probably a reason why it took us a little bit to get off the ground as well. And we were lucky. It cost us about $250 to get off the ground. We put in a bit of our own money, and then we actually struggled. We were trying to raise capital at the start, which is something we did really struggle with.
Yeah, right.
You've got an idea and you're trying to get a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
It's hard for people
And not
to
give away your whole business, like all your equity.
Because that's what they'd want up front.
100%.
They're like, I'm taking so much risk.
Yeah,
with you guys.
absolutely. And that's our other business partner, Paul. Like he ended up putting in some money to help us get off the ground because we had that relationship. Like, and Paul always says it. He's like, he knew nothing about. He doesn't even drink coffee.
Yeah, he doesn't. Literally, one time we nailed him down and we're like, mate, you need
Try
to
our
try
product.
It was the first time he'd tried coffee
ever in his
So
life.
he's like, he knows nothing about the product, but he believes in people. So he's like, I've been working with him for 3 or 4 years, and he'd met Ash a few times through me at that stage.
Yeah.
He's like, look, believe in what you're doing. he kind of lent us some.
He backed us.
Yeah, he gave us a loan to help us get off the ground.
That's awesome, and you need people like that.
Absolutely.
And so July, I think it was mid-July, something like July 19th in 2017, you guys launched. And as you just sort of mentioned before, Ash, if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not moving fast enough. And I guess one of the only things you guys did wrong in your very early days was buying 10,000 units straight up. Talk me through launch day. What was that like?
Well, yeah, I guess leading up to that, going back to, I guess, knowing the people in your network and stuff, we'd sort of lent on family, friends, people we had in our network. We sent out a lot of product to try and, you know, I guess going back to what I said before, having the ambition, oh, yep, it's going to be an overnight thing.
Yeah.
We're like, man, we're going to launch this. And
This is going to fly off the shelf.
And I guess coming back to what we just said, like how much did it cost us to get off the ground? Because we got so much inventory, that's why it
cost so much.
Like we could have done that on a so much smaller scale.
Yeah.
Like that's probably the biggest mistake that we've made in business
we got
today.
we got some bad advice at the start there about that. So
We probably could have done it with 50.
yeah,
50 units.
50 grand.
50 grand.
Oh, right.
Yeah, start
Right.
small and
Right.
scale up.
Yeah.
We just went high and then worried about selling it afterwards.
Such a good concept. We know a few influencers. Let's just
Yeah,
go
this
fucking
is gonna-
all
this
in.
is gonna go
We'll sell,
gangbusters.
we'll sell 1,000 units on the first night.
Yeah.
Launched 16 units or something.
Like, oh, dear, we got to pay for that.
Yeah.
So, I guess on the units thing, like you bought so much, is that because it was really hard to get it manufactured in small quantities? If you ran out and you needed more, that would be
Yes and no.
Obviously, it's like a bit of an economy of scale, yeah? Like the more you buy, the cheaper you'll get, all these sorts of things. So I guess, yeah, at the start there, we were sort of, you know, led to believe that that was what you needed to do to get started.
Right.
A little bit naive of us not to question that or double check that.
Yeah.
And we just went with it, you know? Yeah, very naive of us looking back at that, but
there's a
you don't
takeaway.
need-
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
a takeaway, and it's a good learning experience. You definitely don't need to do that. Start small, work within your means, and you can always scale up from there. You might not make as much profit straight away. Like, you know, your cost of goods might be higher because you're not ordering as much, but you know, you're not going to stress yourself out by having to pay for things, and you don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah, probably a worthwhile trade-off.
100%.
And so obviously you guys bought a shitload of coffee. You didn't have a whole lot of money for marketing. So what did your marketing strategy look like year one? What were the type of things that
Very
you guys were doing?
heavily just focused on influencer marketing to begin with.
Yeah.
A lot of people within our network that were able to leverage. We still did run Facebook ads, but it was very much just retargeting. So once people would come to our website, track them through the pixel and just try to get those multiple touch points. But yeah, and at the start, obviously, like you said, we didn't have much money for marketing, so it was hard to even have, like our content was horrible at the start.
Yeah.
But it was relying on a little bit more of UGC, user-generated content, and just
Because I was
putting
going
that
to say,
back
like
through.
where's the content coming from? But it's,
Yeah, a lot of that
Yeah.
is either that or us going down and grabbing the coffee and trying to take a few shots ourselves and trying to be the models ourselves. when you have to do when you have to do that, mate. When you resort to us as the models, you're struggling, like you're battling.
Yeah, crazy. And what else? I know there was things like collaborations that you guys did with non-competitive brands, which you talk about as being something that's really cost-effective and smart business.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously the collaborations was a good thing, but even just like a business decision for us, like we started with the mindset of just being an online only brand, but because of you know, building a brand and just being adapting to what's going on, you know, like we decided to go down the wholesale path as well. So that was, you know, a strategic, I guess, decision that we made pretty early on, which was able to help us, you know, obviously we had all this product here, how can we sell it?
Yeah.
So that was a real early, I guess, pivot, I guess you could say. And it's worked out obviously really well for us doing that. But yeah, I mean, collaborations, I mean, there's personal collaborations with influencer people that we've used, different brands. I mean, obviously the Muscle Nation boys, who are another company.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, for sure. So they were awesome and let us come down to, it was the Sydney Fitness Expo, I think was the first one, or the Arnold's.
Yeah, Arnold's first and Sydney.
So the
Fitness
Arnold
Expo.
Sports Festival down in Melbourne. Obviously non-competitive to fitness, wear that the boys do. So we set up literally on the corner of their counter and just sampled. Obviously, we've got a product that people want to taste. It gets their attention with the idea, but they still want to taste it. So
that was that whole collaborative mindset. Like we're super grateful, and we always have been for the boys even giving us that opportunity to come and jump on. We didn't have the cash to do it ourselves, so they're like, guys, like we all love your coffee. Like come just jump on. Like they didn't charge us anything. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
In the early days, like again, that surrounding yourself, those boys, like they work hard.
Yeah, they hustle.
You know what I mean? And they've got a young business that's just killing it.
Yeah.
And they're hustlers, so they're another, they're local Brisbane dudes too,
Oh,
so,
cool.
They really get after
next podcast.
Yeah, next podcast. There you go. What's harder to sort of maintain? Is the e-com side of the business better, or is the retail sort of taking more resources from you guys to look after?
Resources wise, it's definitely the e-com stuff.
Yeah, really. Because you got to obviously.
It's content.
It's very content heavy, but what we do with e-commerce completely crosses over into wholesale. So a lot of what we do to build brand in e-commerce then flows through. Like that's why we get into these accounts so easily in the wholesale
very
side
much.
business.
Complements each other. Although they're obviously two different channels, there's a lot of crossover between them. And if anything, the building the brand thing, which is hard to always, I guess, quantify, helps the retailers, and that's
helps to drive sales into those
stores.
Because
like you guys did so well out of retail off the bat because so many people knew before you speak when you guys were hitting shelves.
100%. And that's, I guess, a little bit of like where we bucked the trend a little bit in the whole wholesale thing is that because we sold online, it was a little bit for the retailer to go, oh, you're selling online, you're a competitor to us, which, in a sense we might be, but because we sell online, we build the brand that ends up helping you sell in the store.
Yeah, our brand's an asset.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly right.
Like selling online gives us margins, gives us the opportunity to build brand, which is why people are walking into their stores without them having to try to sell it to them off the shelves.
And it's never been a case of like us versus a retailer. We help, we're promoting everywhere we go, you know what I mean? So it's worked out really well. I think we've found a good little cadence there between the two.
Our job as a brand is to make our products sell off their shelves as easy as possible.
Yeah, and which they'll love as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So obviously you guys are doing a lot of this marketing, and that marketing drove a lot of sales. Sales drove a lot of growth, and all of a sudden you were growing from just having 3 people in December of 2018 to I think you grew to 8 over the course of just a couple of months. What did you guys learn about bringing on people into the business, and how do you find good people for a startup?
I guess a lot of it comes down to like building company culture, making sure that their visions and values are aligned with your own. And I guess finding good stuff, like that's always a challenge. We've been super lucky because we've got an unreal crew. A lot of those...
They're like good people. Like, there's the skill part.
Which is important.
Which is super important, but unless they're good people and good members of the team, then we wouldn't choose them. That when we're hiring, we're always, will they fit in with the team?
With the culture. So you want people, they've got to have a base level skill set for what you're hiring for, but they also need to be coachable. So you can't have someone that's coming in with a huge ego that doesn't want to learn. Like we're very driven by growth at our core values. So we want people who are coming into the team that are wanting to grow with us and that we can kind of coach and mold into those positions.
Would you guys say in your experience that the type of person to come work for a startup like you guys, are they a very different type of person who'd maybe just go work in corporate and do a 9 to 5 there?
I think so. We've even got people within the team that have come across from that completely different world, and it's like, it's such a different space to be playing in. Like they're kind of blown away. I got a lot of the guys, like their mates will message them if they put stuff, because we're always doing fun shit. We've got a bloody basketball hoop sitting above our head.
So obviously
got a boxing bag behind your head, a gym over there. And during the day, if the team needs to take a break from what they're doing, sitting at their desk, they'll come down here and shoot some hoops or something. And like their mates see it on Instagram, like, do you guys fucking work? Like, that's it. But I think it's about creating a culture where they know, like, we're very results focused. So get what you need to done. Like, we're not going to be writing you about having things done unless there's deadlines and we need things done. Cool. Get your work done. If you need to take a break out, come down, shoot some hoops,
that's cool.
Fuck around, do what you got to do. But yeah, it's a results driven.
I like that. So it's just not you're not measuring people based on the amount of time they're sitting in a chair. You're measuring them based on what they're actually doing.
100%.
I just think that makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
And we want to create an environment where people want to come to work. Because if you do that, they're going to put in the effort and the hours for you.
So what else is involved in doing that? So you guys were talking a lot about culture. How do you sort of deliberately build this culture that's super awesome? Is it just hiring cool people into the business that you get along with? Is that just one part of it?
That's part of it, but I think involving them in the journey or in the process, like we have our meetings and stuff, and Jaryd and I aren't the sort of people that this is the way it is, this is, we're like...
Not rah-rah.
No, we're like feedback, like, we're growing. There's people with different skill sets in our team that might have a different viewpoint on certain things or certain decisions. So it's like they're part of the journey and decision-making process to a degree with us. So they feel involved and invested in what's going on as well. So I think that's super important for sure.
And I guess also understanding how to communicate with individuals. So I'm big on personality profiling. Like you can't deal with everyone in the same way. You need to understand how they learn, how they respond, and spending the time with them as individuals, understanding what their journey looks like, what they're trying to build, and how you can help them get the most out of it.
Yeah, and even just things like, the party you guys just had the other night, like those sorts of things are great for team bonding.
Yeah, it's good for company culture. Like it comes down to giving a shit, like actually caring about them and what their needs are as well.
Yeah.
If you do that, they're going to work harder for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, if someone's listening right now, they're like, I love these boys, I want to come work for Before You Speak Coffee. What are you looking for, irrespective of role or position? What are you looking for just in terms of traits that wowould really stand out to you if you were hiring?
I guess people that want to work hard, like we're in here 6 or 7 days a week. That's what we do. People that want to work hard, people that want to grow, people that believe in our vision and align with what we're trying to build. There's some of the key elements of what we look for within staff.
Yeah, who are up for the challenge and are adaptable to what goes on. I mean, I think you need to be like that in a startup, fast-paced kind of environment where there's so many different things, like no 2 days are the same. And it comes back to that, like don't talk up a big game, come show us by action.
Exactly right. And I guess that's what I've learned and how I guess I've got some of my mentors, like it's coming in, offering value, like what can I give to you rather than what can you, I see
don't
what you're doing. Don't
just come in with your hand out like, pay me $100,000 a year to do this for you. It's like, no. Like,
you got to earn that.
Yeah.
You got to earn that.
Absolutely.
And you were just mentioning, Jaryd, that you guys in the office, 6 and 7 days a week consistently, which is more than what most people can fathom because they kind of work 5 days. I want to touch on what your day-to-day in the business actually looks like. For example, when you're waking up in the morning, what are you doing in terms of a morning routine to really energize you guys for working so intense throughout the day?
Depends what week, man. Like sometimes, like I was going well with, I guess, Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning for a while.
Yeah.
That's completely dropped off as of recent.
Really? Because I know you posted about it. I was like inspired. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like it's fucking hard because I go well as long as I prioritize sleep now.
Yeah.
Like that is the most important thing for me. I've done the years where I'm just like, you're running off 4 to 6 hours sleep, but you'll sit in front of a computer screen and you're getting fuck all done.
You don't actually do it.
So no, you're best off getting that extra hours sleep or something, and actually like your productivity and your work output is the most important thing. So like tomorrow I plan on doing absolutely nothing because we probably haven't really had a day off in the past month.
Yeah, so like you can post on Instagram all you want that you're working, 15, 16, 17-hour days, but it's just like, well, are you actually productive for that length of time, or are you just there going through the motions? And that's something I guess you look at Instagram and you might get a false representation of what it actually is all about. But like Jaryd said, it's, that's why we've got the gym, it's sleep, it's looking after your health, like we get prepped meals now, it's, just trying to make things easier to be able to perform and function for sure.
100%. I guess at its core, every day we try to do a few things. 1, exercise. 2, like personal development, like whether it's reading, podcasts, just learning. 3, mindfulness, like whether it's probably meditate 3 to 4 times a week, or just getting yourself in I guess stepping back from being just in it so much.
And that's something that we haven't been good at, for the first, 12 to 18 months of we're just head down, let's just go. And it's sort of like, no, like you need to have that time where you can sort of set back, especially from a business standpoint, not just a health thing, but to be able to actually sit back and look at what's going on and, remove yourself a little bit from it.
Yeah, that time for reflection, because I find I have my best ideas when I'm just...
Absolutely.
I got a pretty long commute, and some days I'll just be like, okay, no podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here for half an hour in silence.
Yeah.
And I'll come home with 5 things to write
Yeah,
down.
100%.
Yeah. Like if I go do some cardio at a night, like go for a walk or something after a day, like that's normally when I'm like clearest mind, and I'm like, cool, like that's a good...
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Always separate time when you're giving yourself no expectations of productivity or having a set outcome. It's just time for yourself.
Really
just kind of fucking chill.
Yeah.
And that's when I find like creativity actually flows.
Yeah. That's awesome. No pressure environment,
Yeah,
so your brain
absolutely. You just got to make sure, like, you got to get out of that reactive state. Like, I've got to do this next. This is happening.
And I think it's part of like, because Jaryd and I actually live together as well.
Yeah, Joel was telling me that. I was like, no shit, that's awesome.
So, like we're doing this literally like from when we wake up to when we go to sleep.
Yeah.
So it's being able to, I guess that's why we were full tilt in business life to now go, no, like we realize that we need to take some time out to,
We're still not fucking great at it, man.
No, we're not. It's a work in progress.
Oh, everyone's a work in
It's
progress.
like, if we're not talking about before you speak, we're like, oh, what other business ideas can we chat about? Kind of thing.
It is like that, but
I love it. And so when you're actually in the office and you're doing this productive work, what sorts of activities are you guys doing for people who are curious? Like, how do you run a business on this scale?
yeah, I guess like we've naturally sort of fallen into the roles, I guess, within the business that we are. Like Jaryd's definitely more marketing and the online ecosystem of the business.
Yeah.
And I'm like the logistics and product development and the wholesale side of things. So I guess we've just naturally, and then we've got Paul that does like the financial kind of thing. So we've sort of naturally, and it goes down back to that whole personality type thing maybe, that we've naturally just gone into those sorts of roles. So, I mean, our days are different.
Yeah.
Just because of the
You're doing
roles that
different
we
things
do.
fundamentally.
Yeah. Sure. Like Ash was saying, it's probably online's are probably a little bit more resource heavy within what we're doing. So I'll spend more time working. We've got 2 graphic designers. Scarlett works in the customer service, ambassador side of things. And it's spending more time with the staff as well, helping them develop into their roles, making sure we're on top of things. There's so many moving parts with what we're doing, so it's just making sure we're on top of those side of things. And then Ash is obviously dealing with a whole lot of the wholesale side of the business.
And obviously that's why I was like, I'm big on relationships, because
Yeah, you
not
spend
only
heaps of time on the phone.
Yeah,
with people,
and not just in the sales environment, but from a logistical thing. We're dealing with people in China and all over the place, and you're trying to get them to be as invested in the business as what I am to get the result quickly and all these sorts of things. So yeah, you spend a lot of time planning and following up and building those relationships so that like they look after you.
By the way, how did you find these connections in China?
It's all through people in Australia, or like as we've gone along I guess this journey, and you're finding other people doing similar things. It might not necessarily, definitely not like a coffee company like ours, but it's communicating. Hey, like those meetups that Jaryd talked about, like going to those sort of networking things, and hey, like that was a big thing for us going from like our WooCommerce e-commerce platform now onto Shopify.
Much better infrastructure.
And that's just feedback from other brands, and we're like, hey, that resonates with us, the problems that you had, and that's why you swapped.
That's it. Like as we grow, like we're dealing with a lot of other young business owners that are all on the same mission. Like, cool, what are we doing that can potentially help them scale their company faster? And they can kind of be like, oh, we're dealing with things in this space, whether it's logistics, online marketing, things.
So just sharing heaps of ideas.
100%. It's just bouncing ideas.
And it goes back to that, like it's not about holding everything secret internally here. Like, man, we're more
Open
than
book.
we don't
for
care.
sure.
Like we share everything.
Yeah.
So.
And you guys are working really, really hard every single day, but on a more macro scale, you're fucking extremely patient. Like you have some really big targets and you're just working towards them very methodically. And I guess one of those things you guys are looking at doing is international expansion.
Yeah.
I think Asia and the US are 2 markets in particular you're pretty keen on. But as a result of that, you've spent quite a bit of time in the US fairly recently, working with brands such as Amazon and Dollar Shave Club, who we were talking about before. What have you sort of learnt from looking under the hoods of those businesses?
Yeah, I guess in the whole Amazon space, like we were looking to go on there at the start, but we've probably pulled away from that, to be honest. Okay. Just because we're going to launch online, like the feedback is like you're on a platform like that, they own all the data, which for us, a big thing is it all comes down to relationships, even personal or as a brand, your job is to build trust with people. So if they own the data and you aren't able to communicate directly with these guys, like you miss that element of it. So like, yeah, you also mentioned like the guys from Dollar Shave Club. We were lucky, we got some good connections there, had some introductions, and just going over, and those guys have done what we want to do. They've got a product-based business. They've gone from being a little startup.
They were a unicorn, I think, right?
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. They scaled to $1 billion acquisition. So having connections of the guys that have done what we want to do, like, it's so helpful. Like it's a different case of sitting with someone here in Australia and be like, cool, we want to scale to be $1 billion company, and everyone's like, yeah,
good one.
Right.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah. Nice. Like when you talk to those guys, they've done it. Like there's multiple guys over in that space that we're talking to that have built $1 billion companies. So it's like, oh, cool. These are the steps. Let us know what connections you need. Hopefully we can give you some guidance and help you get there.
So when you come back from those trips, are you coming back, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this? Like, is it really practical, or is it more so like, I'm spending time with someone who's actually done this shit and they're not that different to me? Is it almost just a self-belief thing, or is it a little bit of both that you guys take away?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, going over there and being around those sorts of people definitely makes it sort of feel like, yeah, I can do this as well. So there's that, I guess, that belief thing, because, you know, that's the level that we want to play on. So it's like that whole surround yourself with what you want to, or the lifestyle or where you want to be. So there's definitely an element of that. But I think if anything, when we come back from those US trips, we're just like, we need to double down and go harder.
Yeah, G'd up.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. And as a result of that, I guess, you guys have huge goals, like I talked about before. Like I got some of them here. I mean, Jaryd, on your Instagram, you've rattled off quite a few as well. I mean, we're talking 1% of the population drinking Before You Speak coffee by 2027, aiming to grow 500% over the course of this year, wanting to be bigger than Red Bull as a company. This one I love, goals to be the fastest growing private company in Australia by 2020 and the US by 2023. Talk to me about the importance of setting these stretch goals and actually having the audacity to think big.
I guess it comes down to, I guess, we'll talk about mentors and stuff. Somebody that I definitely look up to is like Peter Diamandis. Like he does ridiculous things, owns like human genome sequencing, owns planetary resources, like works a lot in AI. He's a billionaire, does stuff with Elon, all those guys. But yeah, guys like that certainly drive inspiration for what we're doing. And he talks about moonshot thinking. So if you're setting goals that are maybe to get 10% better, you're only going to focus on what you're currently doing and increase like incrementally, maybe 1%ers. Whereas if you're doing moonshot thinking, it takes a completely different level of thinking to get to
like
these sorts of goals.
Exponential growth and exponential thinking, you know.
Yeah, right.
So you've got to completely rethink about what you're doing to help you get to these targets. So yeah, I think a lot of people aim too low and they probably reach their target, and that's the biggest issue.
That's the trouble, yeah.
100%. But like, I guess going from one of those goals, like you said, being one of the fastest growing private companies, like Quest Nutrition, the Quest bars.
Love Tom Bilyeu.
Tom Bilyeu.
Yeah,
Listen to a lot
legend.
of his content.
Yeah.
Like those guys are a unicorn. They did that. They were the fastest growing private company in the US, and it's protein bars. So like if we can't do a similar thing in functional coffee, more people drink coffee
Than eat
than they
protein bars.
do eat protein bars.
Yeah.
And I guess there's still no one really doing what we're doing. So it's not like it's unachievable.
Well, that's what I mean. When I'm reading these things, I'm not thinking, never. Because it's, I mean, there's, in my head, I think there's a couple of things that have to line up to actually get there. So first of all, you actually have to have the talent and the skills, which I think you both do. But then you actually have to be the type of person who has that and actually is dreaming big and
100%.
doing that sort of moonshot thinking.
Like we said, like mindset's everything.
Mindset's everything.
100%. And I guess the other one, getting 1% of the world's population, I got that watching Ray Kroc's Netflix, the founder.
Yeah.
So they have 1% of people daily consuming McDonald's, which is 77 million people. So more people drink coffee than they do eat fast
McDonald's.
food. Yeah. So there are things that have been done before. Yeah. So
it's just quite frankly not unreasonable.
100%.
Yeah. But your actions always have to match your ambitions. And I think that's the hurdle a lot of people fall on, because the third thing is you need to be doing the work every day. Otherwise, you've not got a hope in hell.
It's one thing to write that goal on the board, but if you're not taking the action or doing what needs to be done to get you there every day, then you're literally just dreaming. So,
just to switch things up a little bit. So you guys are working super hard and you're extremely passionate about what you're doing every day. You're building a company that you love, but not everyone right now is doing something that they love getting out of bed in the morning for. What advice would you have for that guy or girl who's watching this right now and is a little bit lost?
Just try different things, especially in your 20s. Like, just try as much as possible. Because I come from that background of waking up every morning doing what I hate, like doing carpentry. I just did not enjoy a single day of that. And I guess it was, for me, understanding what does drive you or what gives you energy. You don't necessarily have to know what the outcome is, but I guess I knew I loved health and fitness because I love training. Like, I've always played sport growing up. I was like, cool, well, I'm going to move into the direction of health and fitness. I got into business and I started being like, well, I like business strategy. Like, I'm enjoying the challenges of growing the companies. Then I started looking at different things within marketing. So I was like, well, I like marketing and strategy. I started doing things in the social media space. I was like, well, I enjoy that too. So just piecing all these little things together. Like, I didn't know this was going to be what I was going to do, but I was like, I'm building the foundations and I'm understanding. It's just having a good self-awareness. I know what I like and I've done what I don't like. So I know what I want to move away from. So find the people that you look up to, like, what are they doing? Like, just find your passions, your hobbies.
Yeah.
That's what you got to look for.
That's awesome.
And just move towards it.
What about you?
yeah, no, I think Jaryd nailed it on the head, and I said it before, like, I wouldn't have changed anything that I've done in my past because it's led me to where we are now, like, and you look back and you can see, okay, well, this has helped me get to here, this is, and it all pieces it together. But I think, like Jaryd said, try it, and, you've got plenty of time each day to, get on the internet and research things. And, it's so easy to start an online business these days, like, I know, we talk about it like Gary Vee, like, at nighttime, like, it's what you do from, like 5 till 9 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's not just don't go home and turn on the TV and just sit there. Like, what kind of life is that? Especially if you're complaining about it. Like, if you're happy to do that, then sweet, like, good on you, and that's fine. But if you're complaining about not being where you want to be and you're going home and just chilling out on the couch watching TV, then, you've got to look at yourself and
I think
go,
that's the
what
biggest
am I doing?
thing.
Our TV turns on 3 times a year. State of Origin 1, 2, and 3. Actually 4 when the NRL Grand Final's on.
Literally. So we don't watch TV.
I love that.
It's like, and that's, it comes back to that kind of thing. Like, don't sit there and complain that you're not where you want to be if you're spending your weekends partying and you're not, I guess, putting all your effort into getting to where you do want to be.
Yeah. Now, the last topic I want to finish up on is the subject of time. So I think you both have really interesting perspectives on how long a year actually is, how long 10 years actually is, and what you can achieve during those respective periods of time. Do most people not realize how young they are and how much they can do still?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and I think, like, you started the conversation around birthdays, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm 32. And I was like, I remember when I was young, we tease, like, make fun of it. It's just like, if I knew how good I felt now when I was that young, like, yeah, you've got the whole, you can do whatever you want. Like, if you're 50 years old and just starting your journey now, the way technology and, medical stuff's going, you could have another 50, 60 years of life left, like, it's
crazy. Like, like you said, I just turned 31.
Yeah.
I'm going to be working for more than my entire lifespan.
So
potentially.
far.
Again.
Yeah. Again.
Well,
like,
what a medicine. Who
that's
knows,
a long
really?
fucking time, man. Like, and if you don't think you can accomplish everything you want to do within that time, you're crazy. Because think about how much, like, you've got so much time to learn. You've got so much time to build relationships around yourself with people. Like, it's those 1%ers. Like, people, I think they see these big goals or big ambitions and they're like, I'm never going to get there because they think about getting into it tomorrow. Whereas if they focus on the 1%ers, it's like, all right, all you got to do is learn a little bit each day. I think there was
it's like laying the bricks in your,
Yeah.
you know, day by day, just do
100%.
something that pushes you further
put
towards
down
where
the
you want to be.
foundations, work towards it.
And it's not, and it's never too late to start again, you know, like if you're in a career or, you know, you might have spent all this time studying and you're in this job and you're not passionate about it. Like I think a lot of people are stuck saying, oh, well, this is all I've ever done. You know what I mean? And they don't want to go back to ground zero to start again. It's just like, well, why not? You know what I mean? Just do it.
And I think the reason why is so many people golden handcuff themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their living expenses are here and they're not happy with what they're doing, but they just can't not drive an Audi.
Yeah.
They just can't bring themselves to do
Sure,
it because
I
of
guess
what people will think.
Coming back to like Tony Robbins stuff, I've done a lot of his stuff, personal development, and it's understanding what your primary human needs are. Like for me, it's growth, 100%. For people like that, it's significance. They need to look a certain way in front of other people. Like whereas I just don't give a shit. Like I'd rather put in the work, have nothing, and just build our way to there. Because I guess at my core, as long as I'm building each day personally or professionally, I'm fulfilled.
Everything else is noise.
100%.
Yeah.
Fulfillment, end of the day, is what you should be chasing.
I love that. It's scary to think where you guys are going to be in 10 years and you're only going to be in your early 40s, just getting started still.
Yeah.
Literally, and that's what Gary V says. Like he's still like I'm still just getting started, and I resonate with that. Like
Yeah, for
100%.
sure.
Like we're still just laying the foundations now. We're still just building the relationships. Like we're, yeah, man. Like
Yeah,
we'll
we just
be
think we're
having
on the, yeah.
I think we'll be having similar conversations, just on a much bigger scale in 10 years.
Yeah.
Because there's always another level. There's always something else.
Yep. I love it. Now, just before we finish up with the last question, where can people check you guys out on social media?
I guess just on mainly Instagram is where we probably spend our most time on social media. That you fucking giggle.
That's where he spends all his time.
So I guess for the brand, BeforeYouSpeakCoffee, we're trying to get across all platforms now. So YouTube, Instagram, for ourselves personally, both on LinkedIn, we're putting in more time, and also Instagram.
And podcast coming soon.
And
we'll
podcast
have to
coming
do the
soon.
role reversal, man.
We'll have
for
to
sure.
do the role reversal. Last question. You have the opportunity to pick up the phone to your 18-year-old selves and you have 60 seconds to essentially give them some advice you really wish you had have heard at that age. You have a minute on the phone. What are you guys saying to your 18-year-old selves?
That's a good question.
Stop wasting your weekends on the piss.
Yeah.
Fucking learn.
Yeah, I straight away went to like learn, like concentrate, learn, and like start. You know, just get into it.
And surround yourself with better people.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it, boys. Thank you, boys, so much.
Nice, man.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Whoa, there's the mic on. Lucky it was at the end, though.
Yeah, I make decisions to glow. Ridiculous flow, potential to glow. You know, I just do that. Consolidate my regions, line it up, put them together. Anyone that ever let